Hey, how's it going, everyone? GC Performance here, back on the video, and today I have for you guys this beautiful 2023 Trek Domane SLR 7. Retail on this bike is $8,550, and then the size of this bike is a size 54. I'm going to put the weight of this bike at the end of the video, so if you guys are interested in it, go ahead and check it out because this bike feels much lighter than the predecessor of the Gen 3. And also a big shout out to Trek Bicycles over here down in Miami. I'll put a link to their Instagram down below and also their website if you guys are interested. They have a lot of these Gen 4 Domanes coming in the door, which this is a really cool bike with a lot of ton features. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go over the whole bike, talk about all the features that they changed on the bike, show off some of the specs on it as well, and then talk about the components that this specific bike comes with as well. So the Domane bike by Trek is going to be their endurance model. This is going to be one of their most comfortable bikes you can ride for a road bike. As you can see, it kind of comes fitted with 700 by 32C road bike tires, a little bit wider tire to make it more comfortable. They have their own kind of technology on here called isospeed. This is a rear isospeed decoupler that actually gives a little bit of movement to that rear seat post to give you some comfort. And then they changed it as well. From the front, they actually got rid of some stuff to make it a little bit more light, a little bit more racy, and a little bit more of an all-around bike. So Trek did a great job, I think, at giving this thing a facelift and making it more competitive and making an endurance bike that a lot of people, I think, will like a lot more than the older style bike. Because the old Gen 3s compared to this Gen 4 felt much more heavier from the ones I've worked on, from the ones I've seen friends ride. This is a very nice bike. So, starting off, like I said, one of the big things they changed from Gen 3 to Gen 4 is this removal of the isospeed decoupler that was in the front. On the previous models of Gen 2 and Gen 3, there's movement that would happen right here in this headset area that actually allow for a little bit of like a suspension, kind of like a little bit of movement to go ahead and deter vibrations to make it more compliant while the rider needed that. But now with today's modern bikes having such a wide tire clearance, granted this bike comes stock with a 700 by 32C tire, and it can go all the way up to a 38C tire, there's no more need for that. It was kind of gimmicky. It was a nightmare to change out headset bearings. More moving parts in the bike, there's more things to fail. So they went back to the classic. They just kind of raised the head tube. You know, they keep the endurance model the same. They have a nice tall head tube on here to make it more comfortable. They have a nice short reach as well to make it more comfortable. And they just outfit it with a little bit more wider tires. And they got rid of this. So this saves weight with the removal of the isospeed decoupler. And also it makes it more clean with these cables going now down underneath the stem and into the frame. Whereas before on the older models, it looks like a rat's nest before. The cables are run here and go into the back of the bike. So big, huge upgrade right there. I like that a lot. Also with this as well, they have their own isospeed decoupler back here now. So you can see here, we have a logo right there. And again, this allows a little bit of movement. There's some bearings back here and some bushings that allow a little bit of movement for that seat post to wobble back and forth to give that rider more comfort. The way this is adjusted is that you go ahead and lift this plate off, which I'll show you guys later on in the video. And then you can actually get to the seat post, which is right here. We loosen up the wedge, and now the seat post can go up and down. So very nice. One thing that I was always questioning, I always question on this bike that I didn't know until I saw it in person, is that this back of the seat post is a proprietary seat post. It is carbon fiber, yes, but the back of this seat post is flat and it's more round in the front to add some aerodynamic qualities to this bike, going along the lines of taking it from the 3rd generation to the 4th generation. They want to make this bike more competitive and they wanted more riders riding this bike. Because of the side profile, it doesn't look like that classic endurance bike. There's not a lot to it. They just made a bike that was gonna work really well, and I'm gonna think that they're gonna sell a lot more of these things because of that. As well, with the bikes on all the Domanes, they have right here this little kind of storage box that they've been known for. You can pop this open right here. This pops out, and then inside here you can add a tire, a tube, a toolkit, whatever you need that you want to carry on you. Again, they advertise this bike as an endurance bike. You want to take long 100-mile rides, Grand Fonda rides, whatever it is. Maybe even backpacking on some hard dirt trails because you can take that 38C tire. You can fit whatever you need inside of here. They give you a little bag as well, so that way you're not getting any cables or any kind of your stuff rattling around in there. So that is a nice plus that you'll see. They include it on the Domane. They also include it on the Checkpoint as well. But you can see they changed the whole bike. They gave it some aero qualities, even on this back seat tube. Same features as well, rounded in the front and then flat in the back as well. And this is a gorgeous color. This is their team replica color. This is the same team that they, Tour de France team that they sponsored, Trek does. It looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, the bike color is gorgeous, especially in the sunlight. It looks very clean. And yeah, price point's a little bit weird. I think this is gonna be one of their most popular bikes they sell. because of their price point being at $8,550, and you're getting their top tier carbon and the same wheels that you would get in the SLR9. But literally for $500 less, you get the 105 version of this, and the only thing that changes is going to be the components. This has Ultegra Di2. The model for 8,000 has 105 Di2. It's a weird, I think they need a price point that 105 Di2 at like 7,500. I know it seems pretty cheap for an SLR top tier quality, but the price is too similar for an Ultegra Di2, 105 Di2 between 500 bucks. Usually the person who has 8 grand has enough for 8,500. So that's a little thing. But now, without further ado, let me get into the whole build of this bike as well. So starting off with the handlebars on here, we have a full carbon fiber handlebar, a rounded bar, yes, but this is their Bond Trigger ISO core handlebar. Very gorgeous looking color too. It's a gloss finish with kind of that team white finish right there as well. Looks very clean. You get that included with the bike. You have your very own Bond Trigger handlebar tape on here. Cables are routed underneath the stem, down to the frame, and to the respective areas of the front brake and the disc brake in the rear. Like I said, much more cleaner. We have the stem that's able to take an out front mount like a Garmin, like a Wahoo. You can add your lights, your cameras, whatever you need on there. The bike is going to be spec'd with the new Ultegra 12-speed Di2. This has, it is a hydraulic braking system and it is a semi-wireless system right here. The shifters are wireless, but the derailleurs in the back, the rear mech, the front mech, they are wired to the battery inside of the frame as well. But very flush. Ergonomic shifters, everything about this bike is very, very comfortable. Going down to the front, you have the Trek logo right here. You have this nice candy red paint job. And then for the wheels they have on here are going to be the Bond Trigger ELITEWHEELS Pro 37 wheels. They come with bladed spokes, Bond Trigger hubs, carbon fiber rim. It's a 37 millimeter rim as well. And like I said, these are the same exact wheels you're going to get on the 105 version. These are the same wheels you're going to get the SLR9 version as well. So SLR6, SLR7, SLR9, you're going to get the same carbon, the same wheels as well. For the tires, they spec this bike with a 700 by 32 Bond Trigger R3 tire, and they are already tubeless ready as well. So they come tubeless ready from the factory, and you're good to go. For the rotors, you have on there a 160 millimeter front disc brake rotor. You have your through axle right here. That's going to be a 100 by 12 millimeter through axle that you can go ahead and remove from the wheel. And then we have our front disc brake caliper, our Ultegra front disc brake caliper right here as well. With this bike, it can accept fenders. We can see little fender bolts right here. But when you do add on fenders, you do take away from the tire clearance. The tire clearance on this bike will then go to a 700 by 35C tire. So if you do want to add fenders or mud guard, it does take away from the overall tire clearance. A new feature to this bike on the carbon fiber versions is that they added these little top bike bag frames. So you can have like a little bento box in case you want to add some nutrition, a CO2, whatever you want inside of here. Not a lot of people use them, I see, but if you are backpacking or you do just want the option to run it, you have now that option to do so. The biking game is always about options. And we can see here, this is our stem with the little bit longer spacers to go ahead and accommodate for those cables. And usually, yes, like every bike, they have these breakaway spacers. So if you did want to lower your stem or go ahead and run a longer stem, it's an easy swap out. You just have this little cap underneath here. It's not a whole day job like a Madone. It's not a whole day job like the Pinarellos. I like more and more of these companies going to this like a Specialized bike where the cables are ran underneath here. It's easier for the mechanics to work on. It's easier for the consumers to work on. That's a nice feature. Again, we can see nice aero lines to the front fork. We have, this is again a 32C tire and much clearance that we need on there. The bottom bracket on here is going to be their upgraded T47 bottom bracket. It is a threaded bottom bracket, but it is a bigger bearing, which will allow for better power. And then it is closer to the frame as well. They're getting away from that BB90, which is great. So I do like the T47 bottom brackets. I think it's a nice step in a nice direction. You have your red water bottle cage bolts right here and here. This is a size 54, like I mentioned. You got a nice little Domane logo right there. Now I'm going to remove this ISOSpeed cap right here. So this is what it looks like with the cap removed. You can see here we have our seat binder bolt. You go ahead and loosen that, and now your seat can go up and down. You have this little rubber elastomer piece that goes ahead and stops the seat post from moving too much, but you still have some dampening right here because this piece of rubber is right there. This is the cap that goes over the top of it. You have two little magnets to go against those bolts right there, so that way you're not losing anything. And inside here is where the bearings are going to be as well. And the way you take this off is you go ahead and put your two fingernails right inside there, right there, and you just pull it apart and wedge it together. Go ahead and put that back on there. Like so. I gotta take that off again and do it. There we go. Much better. Everything's harder while holding a camera. That's why I always tell my wife, oh, whoa, how you doing? Anyways, For the crank set on here is going to be an Ultegra 12-speed crank, 5236 chainring on here. Actually, you know what? No, I'm a liar. It's a 5034 chainring. Again, with these endurance bikes, you're going to have an endurance kind of a compact chainring. So the Roubaix, the Domanes, all these endurance bikes, the Paris's by Pinarello, they're going to have an endurance chainring and cassette in the back. So you have a 5034 crank right here. You have a 172.5 crank length. You have the new updated Ultegra front derailleur. And then you can see here we have a little chain dropper catcher, just in case you go ahead and throw some gnarly shifts or you're riding on those cobblestones like the Paris-Roubaix. It'll catch that. We have a 12-speed Shimano Ultegra chain, and then in the back we have a massive 1134 cassette in the back. You're going to see this with the 105 models. I don't think the Dura-Ace comes in 1134, so I'll be questionable to see what comes in the back there. But with the Ultegra and the 105, you do get the 1134 cassettes, which are nice. The rear derailleur is going to be the brain, like I always talked about before in the past. This is your where you charge it at, this is where you pair it at, this is everything. This is why this piece of product right here is going to be $800 now for that Ultegra rear derailleur. But that is a beautiful rear derailleur with a longer cage to accommodate that longer gearing. And one more feature. Usually bikes will have the Di2 battery inside of the seat post. Now you can see right here, they have a little holding with 2 bolts underneath the bike to hold that in place. So that's where the Di2 battery goes. Maybe you can run shorter wires. I don't know. Maybe they just want it so that way you didn't have to access the seat post as a pain in the butt later on down the road to remove it each time because of the collar. Because it's not a normal bike with a normal seat binder bolt and you have to do all that, this is a little bit easier to access. So that's pretty cool too. So if you're backpacking or you want to change your seat height, you don't have to worry about unplugging your bike. Everything's set, so you can remove your seat post again into a bike bag. For the rear wheel, it's the exact same as the front. The EOLUS R37 Pro. It does have a Bontrager hub on here. You do have the bladed spokes as well. Similar to Revolve, I believe these are DT Swiss rebranded hubs with the Bontrager on there, so you can change them out to whatever ratchet system you want. And then for the tires, the exact same Bontrager R3 tires and a 32C. Make sure maximum inflation pressure is 70 PSI in these things. That's a gravel tire. And then also you have rear fender mounts here, here, and down here. For the rear rotor, they went ahead and added a massive adapter to this brake caliper to accommodate to a 160mm rotor in the back. You have your little Bontrager through axle thing right here that you can go ahead and pop off this through axle and shove it to the front one just in case you get it flat and you don't have a toolkit on you. You have the option to do so. So that's a very nice win. Other than that, going up to the seats, we have here the Bontrager EOLUS versus Elite. Nice wide saddle. You notice that they're actually extending the nose here and making this a little bit more wider here. Honestly, we don't sit back here. Some of us sit right here. Majority of us all sit kind of right here. So that's why they're going ahead and widening this part of the saddle more and more. You'll see this more option. Other things I can think of. Is just I'm going to go through the line. Like I said, you have the SLR6, the SLR7, and the SLR9. Those are going to be your top quality carbon by Trek. This is going to be their OCLV 800 series carbon fiber. Anything that says SL is going to be their 500 series OCLV carbon. What that means is that the exact frame, the exact technology you get on the bike is exactly the same. The only thing difference is going to be the carbon weave that they add to make the frame a little bit heavier in the SL models. So if you're looking for that top premium quality, look for the SLR. If you're looking for a little bit more of a weight, of a price savings and a little bit more of a budget, you get the SL version, okay? But anyways, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you again to Trek here down in Miami for letting me go ahead and do a video of this bike. And I will see you guys in the next one. 4th generation Domane SLR 7, size 54, 8 kilos. And in pounds, pretty much 18 pounds.